Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey, Tubi friends! Welcome into a brand new episode of Tales from Tubi. For those who don't know what Tales from Tubi is, this is where I take my love of Tubi and my love of horror movies and bring them together in this series I do over here on Old Man Brad. And all the movies that I talk about over here on Tales from Tubi are available at the time of recording. If you come to this episode later, hopefully they're still streaming on Tubi for you. All right, so in this episode, I'm bringing you a film that has quite a story to its background. 2 movies were made from this one film. And I'm going to talk about Lisa and the Devil, directed by Mario Bava. As anyone who has been listening lately knows, I've really been into 70s horror. So I've been watching a lot on Tubi and elsewhere, but Tubi has a ton of 70s horror films. And this was one that was on my list, one that was suggested to me by a patron of the show, Chris Yeany. Thank you so much for suggesting it. As I dug into this, there's quite a story behind this, and that's what I think intrigued me the most with this and really made me excited to bring you an episode about it. Before we dig into the film, I just want to say, if you're in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays. I'm so thankful I get to host a horror screening on the 3rd Friday of each month at the Esquire Theater, and our screening for July is the Blair Witch Project. I'm so pumped to be able to host a screening of this film on its 25th anniversary. July 19th at 10 p.m. Come out and let's watch a movie together. Let's talk Lisa and the Devil. A tourist spends the night in a derelict Spanish villa, seemingly held in the supernatural grip of an eccentric butler who resembles a depiction of the devil she had seen on an old fresco. This is written and directed by Mario Bava. It stars Telly Savalas, Elk Summer, and many others. And this movie just has a story behind it. Like I've said, I've really been into 70s horror movies lately, and there's been a couple that have had good stories behind them, like the Blind Dead saga, which I have a patron exclusive episode about those 4 films coming. Last week I talked Beyond the Darkness, which was a wild movie. And this one, the more I dug into this, I was just like, what? I had no idea. So for those, I'll tell you right up front, there's Lisa and the Devil, and then there is a kind of recut version of this movie called The House of Exorcism. So I've watched both of them. Only Lisa and the Devil is available on Tubi. I had to search out and find The House of Exorcism, which I believe is on Canopy. I believe that's where I watched it. But Lisa and the Devil, it came out in 1973. And I'll say it like, this is an odd movie. It starts out with this woman, she's kind of on a vacation, and she sees this fresco, this painting on this building as she's kind of, doing her touristy things. And someone that she had met on this trip that she was on this with, and the devil in the picture, it looks like Telly Savalas. And she breaks from the group and has to go use the restroom, and she meets Telly Savalas in this place. Some wild things start to happen. She ends up at this house with these eccentric people there. And, as I was watching this film, there is so much that doesn't make sense. It feels like it jumps around, but the ultimate story in the end, it does make a lot of sense. It's stylistically looks fantastic. I absolutely loved the look, the kind of almost gothic feel of this film, the slow, kind of tense burn. Telly Savalas' character, his butler character, throughout the whole movie, there are many moments where you're like, okay, what is he playing at with this? He has a sucker in his mouth the whole time. And I found out that as they were filming, he started this because he had just quit smoking. So it just kind of became that character in the movie, always having a sucker instead of smoking. There are a couple deaths in this movie. I'm going to keep this very spoiler free. I'm just giving thoughts on the film, quick thoughts on the film, because this is a movie that I 100% recommend. I think I gave it a 3 or 3.5 on Letterboxd. I think it was 3.5 because I really, really did enjoy this movie. The story is kind of odd and kind of the way it twists, but in the end, the ending that you get and why this is happening and kind of what this entire thing was, it all makes sense. It makes complete sense to me of what we just watched and why it was so odd. And there were some jumps that seemed confusing, and there are some good kills in this. There's one where a dude gets run over, and it just happens over and over again. I found it hilarious, but also pretty good. And, I mentioned there is a recut of this movie, The House of Exorcism. So the story behind this that I found out, the producer and also writer on the movie, Alfredo Leon, this movie came out in 1973. It didn't do well. And he was trying to he wanted to make money back on this and knew releasing it here and everything else that it just wouldn't pan out. People would find it confusing. So he went back, filmed scenes. I mean, Mario Bava didn't agree with this because, this is my movie. This is what I made. But Alfredo, The Exorcist was big and he wanted to kind of play off that popularity and knew that if he did that and did some sort of like an exorcism piece to the film, he could make his money back. So that's what they did. They brought Elk Summer back to film these scenes of her, basically like Regan from The Exorcist, where she's yelling at people, just completely vile at people. There's even green pea soup that gets ejected out, and they cut this exorcist of her being possessed in with the scenes from the film that we had previously. So I watched Lisa and the Devil, and almost right after I went and watched A House of Exorcism just to see kind of what they did. And it was wild because the exorcism scenes in this new version, and when they cut to Lisa and the Devil, the transitions were odd. The coloring, lighting, everything from the new scenes didn't match what was the original film. And to me, it made it even less sense of what the hell was going on with this new version. And all the exorcism stuff, 100% ripped off from The Exorcist. And it was just put in, just like, he wanted to do, just put in because of this popularity, wanting to make its money back. So if you're only going to watch one of the versions, watch Lisa and the Devil on Tubi, because A House of Exorcism to me was not worth it. It made it more confusing, made it not unwatchable, but just made it even more odd of like, okay, what is going on here and how does it fit with an exorcism? Because of the way the original film played out and how it was set up, exorcism was not the way to go. So Lisa and the Devil, a high recommend for me. A House of Exorcism, a non-recommend for me. I would say only watch it out of curiosity to see what the differences were. And honestly, that is it. Well, that will do it for this episode of Tales from Tubi. As I head out, we're in the middle of Shark Week right now. And we did a theme of shark movies. I think it's the third year in a row we've done shark movies because just like 70s horror, Tubi has so much to choose from. And a couple that I've watched this week are The Last Shark, which was a film that came out in 1981. And it was pretty close to a blatant ripoff of Jaws. The mechanical shark they have almost looks the same. Some of the story is very similar, and it was released in Japan as Jaws Returns, and Universal Pictures actually sued to halt this movie from coming out right around its release. So I watched it. It was okay. The way it ended was really funny. I just watched Shark from 1969 with Burt Reynolds. It was a pretty slow go movie, but I mean, 1969, the pacing's a little different. The way it ends, though, it's like in the middle of a scene and then boom, it's credits. And you're like, what? Okay. A sci-fi film I watched, Ozark Sharks. Hilarious. It is so much fun. It's just stupid shark mayhem. Exactly what you kind of want sometimes. So there are some shark movies for your Shark Week. We're coming to the end of Shark Week when this is releasing. But, you know, if you need a couple shark movies to add to your list, there are a couple. Well, there we go. That will do it for Tales from Tubi. Thank you so much for giving me a listen. Just make sure you subscribe to the show and you will never miss any of these episodes, like Tales from Tubi or any of my regular episodes. I will be back next week with a brand new review on the new film Oddity. And then after that, I will have an interview and a quick review on the new film Graveyard Shark. So watch for that coming soon. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.